All right, hello everybody. Welcome to your very favorite Bronze Age comic book podcast, Flea Market Fantasy. I am your co-host, Mike L, and as always, I'm joined by
Michael Dell of the LCS Hockey Radio Show.
That's right, and this week it's your pick, and you like to be timely, right? You like to tie in with current events, so tell us what we are reviewing.
Well, Mike L, I'm sure you know because you're hip, but all the kids are talking about the Disney Plus show that just premiered, WandaVision.
Right.
Starring the Scarlet Witch and Vision. So I decided, as you mentioned, I always like to be timely.
That's right.
Very, very trendy.
Yep.
So I selected Vision and Scarlet Witch #1 from 1982.
Yes, and we should point out there is technically a second miniseries, a 12-issue miniseries by Steve Englehart. This is not it.
That was 85, I believe.
Okay.
This is 4 issues, and it was in 1982 by Bill Mantlo and Rick Leonardi.
Right. And I'm familiar with Bill Mantlo because he did a lot of Spider-Man in the 80s, and he's done a lot of comics that we reviewed, right? At least a few.
Yeah, we've talked about Mantlo a ton on here. He was basically like the ultimate fill-in guy. Whenever they needed someone to jump in, they got Mantlo. And so... go back to your previous episodes of Flea Market Fantasy and hear all about Bill Mantlo.
That's right. I should also point out that a friend of mine was so excited about WandaVision that she wanted to read the comics, so I sent her a link for the Steve Englehart comic, and of course, it has nothing to do with the TV show, right? So she's like, when does it get to, like, the stuff that's in the TV show? I'm like, it doesn't, ever. You know? Like, none of them do, really. But
I'll say this about the Scarlet Witch. We'll get into her background and stuff here in a second. But up until probably, I don't know, the 2000s, she was really not a good character, right? I mean...
well, I don't know. I mean...
like, she was cool, but she wasn't, like, written as a... like, at least in the 70s and 80s, she was written as kind of like a very passive lady.
Right. Well, I believe Steve Englehart made a point to try and make her a better character, and like he's the one that ended up giving her kids and all that. And he said that as soon as he left West Coast Avengers, the subsequent writer undid everything he did.
Do you know who really undid everything?
Well, John Byrne undid the kids, but it was
That's right, John Byrne.
Yeah, of course. Was it Brian Michael Bendis that did more, or what?
Well, Byrne took care of the kids. He wiped out the kids. And we'll talk about that too. All right, let's just get into Scarlet Witch.
Sure.
And her background. Because, we always talk about these DC characters on here that have such fucked up backgrounds. Usually Marvel, it's pretty steady. Like, once you get an origin, that's pretty much it. There's no, like, Crisis on Infinite Earths or anything to rewrite everything. But with Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, her brother, their backstories are a train wreck.
Yes, they are.
Terrible. All right. So... her real name is Wanda Maximoff, and as I mentioned, her brother is Quicksilver. And her first appearance was X-Men #4, 1964. She was created by some guys named Stanley and Jack Kirby.
Never heard of them.
And originally, she was a mutant with, how would you classify her ability? It was like, because then she studied sorcery under some lady named Agatha Harkness. But I guess she had hex bolts and... like chaos magic or something that came later, right? But she could influence probability and stuff around her and warp reality. And
I tried to read up on this too, and it sounds like at the beginning her powers were not defined. It was just like you said, like bolts, shooting bolts, and kind of doing whatever was convenient, right? Then later they said, oh, it's actually a hex power. Well, what does that mean? Well, yeah, it's altering probability. But then other writers, which I'm sure you'll mention, kind of changed that, right? Because then they added the witch stuff. They added the witch stuff that she learned sorcery. And then I think it was Kurt Busiek. Didn't he say, oh, it's actually this? It's a little bit different than we thought.
I have no idea. It gets so confusing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Agatha Harkness stuff came in later. And then like she was a sorcerer who taught Scarlet Witch stuff, but then she died. And yet her ghost still followed around Scarlet Witch. I don't know. It's weird. Mm-hmm. So originally, the backstory for Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, the two siblings, was that they were the children of who, Michael? Do you remember?
Magneto. Oh, originally it was not Magneto. Was it Frank something? Or no?
Yeah, Frank was his last name. Well, he appears at the end of issue 1 here. That what
Right.
you were doing. But that's the Whizzer. The Whizzer.
Oh, the Wizard. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
the 1940s golden age hero, the Whizzer, who is basically a ripoff of the Flash, right?
Right.
Because the Flash came out a year before. Hey, do you know how the Whizzer originally got his powers? His original origin story?
Was he bitten by a mongoose?
Ooh, so close. He was bitten by a cobra, and then
Really?
they did a blood transfusion with mongoose blood.
Oh, right.
And
Okay.
that mongoose blood gave him the superpowers.
Wow.
that
Awesome.
is
I love it.
that is awesome. They tweaked it a little later, so they said like that he was a mutant, and the mongoose blood transfusion just triggered the mutism
Mm.
or whatever they call it. So yeah, that's the Wizard, and I guess his lady friend was a Miss America. Miss America,
Okay.
just kind of like a female Captain America back in the 1940s, and they supposedly had the 2 kids, and then the kids were for some reason adopted by the what's their last name? The Maximovs,
Right.
who lived in where did they live? Roma, the country of Roma.
Well, no, Roma. Roma is the name of is the proper name for gypsy, right? That's not a country
Sure,
though. Yeah.
but in the entry it says that's where they actually come
Really?
from.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Marvel adds crazy countries.
Yeah, they make
so.
up countries too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they just made up that country. Because then you see it listed as Romania, Serbia, their backstory. Who knows? They changed the backstory so many times. Who fucking cares? All right, but anyway, so that was the original thing. And then this limited series that we will be reviewing today, issue 1 of, they changed that. So now in issue 4 of this limited series, it's revealed that their true parents were a lady named Magda and her, I guess, husband or lover, Magneto.
Okay.
Because Quicksilver and Magneto always looked alike anyway. So I guess they're like, oh, let's just make him. So yeah, in issue 4, you find out that Magneto is their real dad, and that Magda fled from him because he was an evil mutant, and she gave birth to the twins. While I don't know, the High Evolutionary comes into play, and there's a lady named Bova.
Yes, Bova, the cow woman.
The cow woman, exactly. Now this doesn't. Now Michael's not just insulting this woman's appearance. He's not a misogynist here. She's a little hefty. No. What he's saying is that the High Evolutionary made a race of humans, animals, like hybrids, right? So
right.
And this was literally a cow woman.
Right. Right.
And she was the midwife to Magda. And then Magda, when she gave birth to the kids, she left them with Bova and she fled because she was still scared of Magneto.
Right.
So then Bova raised the little kids a little bit, and then she gave them to the Maximovs to be their kids. And then when they got a little bit older, Scarlet Witch and Vision fled because there was like a riot or something in the town, or I don't know what was going on. So they fled on their own, and they just bummed around Europe for a while until they got picked up by Magneto and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
Woo!
How about that? And they were evil. But then they became good and they joined the Avengers.
Right.
So that's wild. Wild stuff. All right. So, but keep in mind, when all this was happening, Magneto didn't know they were his kids.
Right. And see, I actually had no idea that development was so recent. I thought it was kind of like right from the beginning.
Yeah, that was just in this series. It all came out. So
Crazy.
1982. And then after all of that, then they said that Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch weren't even mutants.
Right.
Which is terrible, right? I mean...
And that was because of the whole rights dispute with Fox, 20th Century
I was
Fox.
wondering why they did all this. So that makes sense, yeah. Yeah, so they said they weren't mutants, and that it was actually the High Evolutionary who did experiments on them when they were kids that turned them into mutants and gave them their powers.
Well, yeah, technically you can't turn someone into a mutant. Turn them into whatever.
Turned them into super-powered people.
Right.
Whatever. So now where are they now, Michael? Currently, are they back to being mutants or?
As far as I know, that still stands that they're not mutants. But I'm sure that once the movie, the next X-Men movie comes out, I'm sure that they'll just redo it all again, right?
Yeah, probably. It's all pretty stupid. But
Mm-hmm.
like they should be mutants, right? I mean, come on.
I mean, might as well, considering they were in the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, right?
Yes.
They have to
Then
be.
you have to go through the bylaws of the Brotherhood and rewrite things.
Right.
Come on. That's a top-notch organization. You can't just be willy-nilly with the rules.
Exactly.
So, is there even a Brotherhood these days of Evil Mutants?
Oh, I've lost track. I have no idea.
The one thing I'll say for them is they really were truth in advertising. You know, like hey, we're the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. We're evil.
And
We're
we're
going
a
to do bad
Brotherhood.
things.
Right.
They're not trying to hide it, Michael.
Right.
Right up front with it. I will say the Scarlet Witch, probably one of the hottest female characters in comics, right? Just she's
Well, I
European.
mean, yeah, depending on
She's
who's
into
drawing her.
magic. Yeah, she's just a little crazy as well. Oh, that's the other big story with Scarlet Witch. Like when I said later, like that she actually became a good character later on, because they did some interesting things with her. Like she had a nervous breakdown, right?
Yes.
And she went a little loopy, and she created a whole fake reality. I've never
Right.
read this storyline, Michael. The House of M, right? Is that what it
Yeah.
is? Is it good?
Well, no. I'm not, I mean, I'm not a fan of Brian Michael Bendis at all. So
It
I read
sounds awesome. It sounds like a great idea.
uh, give it a try then.
All right, maybe I'll go ahead and read it because just the concept of it, she basically goes crazy and creates her own little reality where everyone's imprisoned in it through her magic. And
Excuse
what
me.
you just sneeze? What was
Yeah,
that?
I just sneezed.
Holy hell!
I just had some ginger before we started.
Now I got the COVIDs
Yep.
right through the show. Canadian COVIDs right here on the show. But yeah, she goes to the create her own reality where like mutants are very. What was the deal with the reality? Like people were normal humans are the minority and mutants are the majority, right, in this world. And
Honestly, no, 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 no. Not as far as I know, because I haven't read it, but based on my memory of it, it was she said no more mutants.
no, no,
And
no, no.
oh,
I think that's at the end of it.
okay, okay, right, right.
Yeah,
Okay, technically you're right. You're right. House of M is like this alternate reality, but I didn't read
yeah.
it, so I don't know. But now you didn't want me to spoil it. But at the
So
end,
you didn't read it. You hate it.
I only hate it. No, no, no. I'm not saying I hate it. I'm saying I hate everything Brian Michael Bendis does,
Uh,
so I didn't even give it a chance. But
oh
even
well, that's fair.
every time, yeah, every time I hear that tagline, or not tagline, but that quote, the famous quote, "No more mutants," it makes me sick.
Why?
I don't know. I just don't like it. It just sounds really forced and cheesy and melodramatic.
It sounds really awesome, actually,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
because what happens is like Xavier and that they try and get her back to reality, and in doing so, she's still pissed at him. So she just says no more mutants, and she basically wipes out 90% of mutants, which
Yeah.
which I like because there's way too many mutants, right? When
Yeah, you could
when
say
the
that.
X-Men were cool, there was only like a handful of mutants in the world,
Yeah, you
like
could say
maybe
that.
50 to 60, and then it's like now that everyone is a mutant for a while there. So I think it sounds really good. So unlike Mike L, I'm going to read the stories before I judge them.
Oh, okay, okay.
But that's just me. But anyway, that's House of M. So she sounds very interesting there as a character. But,
Well, you'll see. I think you should read.
oh, you'll see too, because you never read it. Maybe
I
you
think
should read it to see for yourself.
I think you should read Vision and the Scarlet Witch by Steve Englehart. That's what you should read.
I did, and it's not any good.
I think it's better than this, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, the end of that limited series, her and the Vision have kids. They have two
Right.
kids. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about Vision
Sure.
because his backstory is also weird.
Completely.
Now we've covered it before on this show, but just to highlight, if you go back and listen to the episode we did about the Avengers, the Trow of the Vision, right, with Grim Reaper and Wonder Man and all that, you can get the full backstory on Vision. But basically, the Vision is a synthezoid.
Right.
Yeah. Now, what does that stand for? Do you know?
A synthetic oid? I don't know.
Synthetic humanoid.
Oh, there you go. There you
Very
go.
close. Now, do you know who invented the synthetic humanoids?
Was it Henry Pym?
Dr.
Or was it
Phineas Horton.
Oh yeah, well okay. Yeah, Human Torch, like the original
Yep,
Human Torch.
he was
yeah.
the guy who invented the first Human Torch. He
Okay.
was the first synthezoid. And
don't you
basically,
remember I dazzled you with that fact in an early episode of Flea Market Fantasy?
yes, you did. And I can't remember why we were talking about it. It was someone. Shoot, I can't remember. Someone, when she was a little girl, she broke into like a factory, and they were given the background of his daughter, who turned out to be. Oh, I remember. It was remember that the giant monkey Fantastic Four issue. Human
Oh,
Torch
right,
was
right,
Human
right.
Torch was dating a lady in that, and they didn't reveal who the lady was. But the backstory is she was the daughter of that guy Horton. Remember this?
Oh, yes. Was it Nova, Frankie Ray? Or was that
Yes, it
someone else?
was. That's exactly
Okay.
right, because that was before she was
Right.
the Herald of Galactus, and then she became yes. So look at that;
Gotcha.
it all ties together. But
Right.
anyway, this Phineas Horton guy invented Horton cells, which is able to create these synthetic humanoids or synthezoids, and basically they have all the like these cells mimic all the human organs and everything. And
Okay.
I don't know, it gets kind of weird because you're like, well, does he have a, because the Vision he
He
marries
did have
Scarlet Witch.
kids. Yep.
Yeah, so does he have a, what I'm saying, like, oh,
I know what you're saying. Does he have a thumb?
yes, exactly. So the Vision, he created the Vision. Well, he created the Human Torch originally, and
Right.
then who created the Vision, Michael? Just a quick
That was
question.
Henry Pym.
That was
No.
incorrect. That was Ultron. Ultron 5.
Right. So he created Ultron. So Ultron created the Vision.
Correct. And he used a Human Torch, not the original Human Torch body, but like an offshoot of the Human Torch body. But he used that template for Vision. And then for his mind, he used the mind waves of Wonder Man,
Right.
Simon Williams.
Which, thankfully, again, now it's already gotten so convoluted. I'm glad they changed it for the movies, right?
Yeah, in the movies, like who created them? Just Tony Stark and right? Did he create them or?
Tony Stark and Bruce Banner together.
Yeah. Okay. But in the comics, Ultron created him, and then he tried to use him to fight the Avengers, but the Vision became a good dude, and he stayed with the Avengers. And do you know how he got his name, the Vision,
In the movies,
in the book?
in the book, it was what's her name? The Wasp says something like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I see a vision," right?
yeah, that's right. Like an unearthly vision. So that
Right,
became him.
right.
And his first appearance was Avengers 57, 1968. Do you know who
Awesome.
created him?
I'm gonna guess Roy the Boy Thomas
That is correct.
and John Buscema. Was he in there?
That is correct. Look at you.
Yeah.
How about that? Oh, that makes up for the Human Torch fiasco earlier. But you got it there. What else about the Vision? So then the Vision fell in love with Scarlet Witch, even though he's a robot, and they had kids. Again, so many questions. I don't know how that happens.
Right.
And then the kids go away because John Byrne got rid of them, and I guess Mephisto took them back to hell or something, right? Because
Well,
they were demons or something.
see, that was actually a story I read, and what the explanation was that Scarlet Witch was subconsciously using her hex power to manifest these kids, and they only
Oh,
existed when she was thinking of them. So if she stopped
okay.
thinking about them, they would disappear.
All right. Well, that kind of makes more sense than a robot putting babies in her. So yeah. All right.
Suppose.
So then the Vision. What happened to the Vision there for a while? He kind of got disassembled or something, or.
Yeah, I don't know. He got taken apart and rebuilt, and when he was rebuilt, he didn't have Wonder Man's personality anymore, his brainwaves, right?
And he didn't like really love Scarlet Witch anymore, right? Like that
No,
love.
no, he was more like a robot, like no personality. He
Yeah.
was all white, no green and red design, no cape, just white.
And was that John Byrne behind that?
That's John Byrne. That's right.
Right.
But John Byrne, I got to give him credit for one thing. He's also the one that said, "Oh, actually, he was not rebuilt from the Human Torch. He just thought he was."
Like why? Like what's the need to change that? Like.
Well, I personally, whatever. I don't know. I kind of like it better that way. That's one point for John Byrne.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, then how did they
because
come up with the Horton cells and the synthezoid body and everything?
I don't know. They rewrote all that too. But the thing is the reason I like it better is because it doesn't make sense for them. Like, just leave the Human Torch alone and start fresh. Or Roy Thomas's original idea was he wanted to bring back, because there's a Golden Age Vision, right?
I did not know that.
Yeah, there's an actual character called the Vision, and he has a green face. He looked kind of like the new Vision, and he wanted to bring back the Vision, and Stan Lee said no. So then Roy Thomas said, "Okay, what about the Human Torch?" And Stan Lee's like, "Okay, fine." And he's like, "It doesn't make any sense. So now I'm just gonna make the Human Torch be the Vision. I could have made the Vision be the Vision, you know?"
Was the Golden Age Vision a robot?
I don't think so. No. He was an alien law enforcement officer from a dimension called Smoke World.
I'm looking at him right now.
Yeah, me too.
Kind of like Martian Manhunter-esque.
A little bit, yep.
Got a big old head.
But he
Big
does
old
look
crank.
similar, sort of.
Same kind of backstory too, right? Like
Created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby.
yeah. So all right, look at that. You taught me something new, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Always teach me something new. So then the Vision, he eventually returned to his normal self, right? Like
Yeah,
he's
kind
no
of.
longer,
But I don't
no
think
longer
he
like
has.
white.
He doesn't have Wonder Man's brainwaves.
So is he still in continuity? Is he still with Scarlet Witch? Are they still
No,
couple with?
no, no. Now he's. There was a great series by Tom
Oh,
King. Yeah,
yeah, I did read that. I didn't
yeah.
know if that was just like a one-off deal, like in their own reality, or if that was actually part of the Marvel. You know what I
For,
mean?
well,
Like,
yeah. But as far as I know, no. As far as I know, he's not back with Scarlet Witch.
because that series. Let me tell you something, Michael.
Uh-huh.
I make fun of Scarlet Witch all the time for being romantically involved with the robot. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
she's loopy. That's Scarlet Witch. She's loopy. But I'll tell you right now, Michael, Virginia Vision, smoking hot.
Okay, okay.
One of my favorites. Virginia Vision, the Vision's wife in that miniseries.
And that's a
Tremendous.
great series. You've read it,
She
eh?
she is one of my favorite characters ever. She is
Really?
so good. Yeah.
Right.
I think the hottest female characters: Elektra, Scarlet Witch, Virginia Vision. Maybe.
Really? What
And look
about
at that, the
Rogue?
Visions had two of
Rogue?
them. He said, Rogue's all right, yeah.
Right.
But Typhoid Mary. I like the crazy girls
Oh
too.
yeah, oh yeah.
All right. So there you go. Vision. I think that's all the history we have on him. All right. Anything else?
I don't think so. No.
Again, in the comic books, that little gem on his forehead is not a Infinity Stone.
Right, right.
Yeah. So it's a solar gem, right?
Is it? Yeah. Okay. I don't know.
And the Vision's powers, for those unaware, even though he's a robot, his body can become like intangible, like a ghost. He can
Right,
phase through things, and he can also become super dense. Like he can make his
right.
body super dense. So he's basically invulnerable and all that kind of stuff. And he shoots lasers out of his eyes, right? And,
I think so. Yeah.
yeah, he can do everything. It's the Vision.
Mhm.
He's cool as hell. Yeah. I always liked the Vision as a kid. I thought
Yeah,
he
he's
was a
pretty cool. I've always thought that Vision and the Scarlet Witch are sort of the mainstays of the Avengers, right? Because they didn't really have their own book, and so they were the ones that kind of stuck around consistently the longest, I think.
And something that didn't even dawn on me until I was just researching this. But when Stan Lee changed up the lineup for the Avengers, when he
Uh-huh.
basically just brought in all villains and made them good.
That is true.
That
Yes,
never dawned on me
Quicksilver.
until just reading like Hawkeye.
Yeah, right.
Swordsman was in there too for a bit, right?
Yeah,
And
you're right. You're right. It is weird.
yeah, so interesting. All right, so there's your background on Scarlet Witch and Vision. Um, I think that's good. We can get to this story now, right?
Yes. Well, and I'm sure we're going to talk about the costumes, right?
Oh, well, go ahead. Talk about the costume.
Well, yeah. So first we'll talk about Vision. He's got a green leotard costume with yellow gloves, boots, and I guess underwear. But he also has a yellow diamond on his chest and kind of like almost like a wrestling belt, kind of.
Yeah, yeah. Sort
And
of like Captain America has the red and white stripes around his abdomen. Like he has a
right,
shaped yellow vertical stripes around his
right.
abdomen.
And he has a yellow cape, a yellow like Dracula thing, whatever that's called, behind his head.
Yeah,
So
big cape collar
yeah,
or
there's
whatever.
got to be a name for that. If anyone's listening, which they're
No one's
not, but
listening.
no one's listening. But anyway, let us know what that thing is called. He's also got, as you said, he has like a yellow gem on his forehead, and his face is red. So technically, his actual skin is red, but he wears a suit over top of it.
Yeah.
And then Scarlet Witch has a great costume. She's basically wearing like, I don't know if it's just supposed to be pink or it's supposed to be see-through, but she's wearing like a red sort of one-piece bathing suit with pink leggings and like pink material covering like her forearms and her upper chest.
Her upper arms and chest.
Yeah, upper arms, right. But I
She's
wonder if
got
that's
big
supposed to
red
be
gloves on the
yeah,
forearms.
and big red gloves and red boots and a red cape and this thing that she wears, I just found out the name of it and now I can't remember.
Well, technically, I don't know. It's just like a headdress, but I believe they call it a wimple.
Yes, that's it. That's it. A wimple.
Wimple. But I think with a wimple, you also need cloth around it. Like when she first came in with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, I think she had some cloth around it.
Ah.
So I think this might just be but it's like a double, like, I don't, well, I guess it's kind of like an M, really, with her face cut out. But
True.
like 2 points sticking up above her head, and it's red. But yeah, she's always smoking hot, Scarlet Witch. But then George Perez like redid her outfit later.
Right, I was going to mention that. Yep.
Go ahead, talk about that one.
Well, it's just, he was thinking too hard. And I have to bring it up because I can't remember, but
Well, it's more like a gypsy girl.
right, and that was his intent. And okay, fine, I applaud that, but it's just not as good. Like, she's basically wearing. She still has the wimple, but her skin is now bare. So her midriff, her legs, and her upper chest and forearm or her shoulders are bare. And then she still has the red boots, longer gloves, and then instead of a cape, she has like, what is that called? When it kind of just hangs in the front and the back.
Yeah,
I don't know. Anyway, it's actually not bad. It's just that
it's he did it because he wanted it to be more challenging to draw. He wanted it to be very detailed. And then I think Alan Davis came in after.
Okay.
I think it was Alan Davis, and he has a more simplistic style, and he simplified it because he didn't want to draw so much.
Right. I guess it's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. But the original is classic. I love the original.
Yeah, I mean, the original is ridiculous in terms of like a real life costume, but it's awesome in comics. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you would never see anyone wear that thing on their head.
Right.
But all right, so yeah, that's Vision Scarlet Witch's little outfits. All right, Michael, so let's look at the cover here.
This is a really good cover. I'm sure we're going to talk about the writer.
See, I don't know. I'm not crazy about the cover.
Well, okay. Let's put it this way. It's good in certain ways. Like Scarlet Witch herself is excellently drawn.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah. The Vision, not so excellent. He looks like
he's phasing through the wall behind them. Like so you get some Kirby crackle around his legs and his ribs when he's coming through the wall. But yeah, not so it's a little rough, I guess.
Yeah, his face looks rough. Like it just doesn't look right. But
like it looks like his mouth is off centered.
Right. It just looks like something's like I don't know what, but and so anyway, so they're kind of confronting this bad guy in the cover, and the bad guy is in the foreground and he's facing them and he's holding the scythe, right? Or no, what is it called? Scythe? Yeah, scythe.
Yeah, let's go with that.
And he's got like these kind of what are they called? Like goat
horns.
Goat horns, right? And he's wearing like a baggy. He's kind of like the personification of death, sort of. And we should point out this is got the classic Marvel ribbon at the top, a Marvel Comics limited series, 60 cents. Number 1, Vision and the Scarlet Witch.
Notice they don't say 1 in a 4-issue limited series or anything.
Good point. Because this was really early. This was like the second or third limited series for Marvel, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, so you're just buying this, not knowing how long it's going to last.
Yeah.
But 60 cents. This cover is drawn by Rick Leonardi, and then at the bottom it says "Night of the Living Druid."
Right.
Spooky lettering. My problem with the cover, it's not even so much the roughness of the Vision there, but I don't like the bad guy here, who we find out later his name is Sam Hain. He takes up like the whole left side of the cover, and he's just kind of like colored all white. And I don't know. It makes it seem weird, like there's a big dead space on the cover. And I would have liked it better if like the blade of the scythe or scythe or whatever, scythe or scythe, however you say it. Mm-hmm. I wish Skype. We got to really look into this, Michael, because I always hear it different ways. Google the correct pronunciation of that.
Well, while we're on the correct pronunciation, I should point out that it's actually pronounced Samhain.
Oh, Samhain.
Yeah, because it's Gaelic. And I know that only because I'm obsessed with the Halloween films, and in that film, I believe they addressed the fact that it's not pronounced Samhain, it's Samhain.
Oh.
Yeah. Because apparently the MH makes a W sound in Gaelic, so.
Look at you, Michael, just teaching me new things. First
Yep.
division from the Golden Age.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And one thing I want to point out about this cover, the only thing I like is it seems like I know that the vision's supposed to be phasing, but the colors seem a little bit muted. It almost doesn't look like a cover. It's really
I think it's supposed to be implying that he's intangible, but
right.
when you have that with the Samhain guy,
Yeah.
it looks very much like the cover's not colored at all. So.
Right. And there's not the usual like blurbs. Like this is the blurb at the bottom, but it's just unusual. But I got to point out, Rick Leonardi is one of my favorite artists, so I'm a huge fan of his art. So
yeah, we'll talk about it at the end, but this is
sure.
very early Rick Leonardi,
right?
And you can tell at some points.
Yes, yeah. We should also say inked by Ian Akin and Brian Garvey, who we'll talk about later. But I know them from ROM and Transformers, and I don't think they suit Rick Leonardi, but we'll talk about that later.
Are they kind of like an art team?
Yeah, as far as I know, they're always together.
Yeah, because I wasn't familiar with them, but I was looking them up, and because I was wondering why two people inked in, if like one did some and one did not. But it seems like they are a team that work together.
Right. Yeah, I think they specialize in they put a lot of detail into like shading and texture, and when they did ROM, it almost made them look unrecognizable. That like Sal Buscema, they made Sal Buscema's pencils look unrecognizable because they put so much detail. But anyway.
And apparently, Michael, the correct way to pronounce that weapon is scythe.
Scythe. Okay.
Yeah, here, listen quietly. Did you hear that?
Okay. Yeah, I did. Okay.
Scythe. But anyway, I think the cover would be better if the scythe, if its blade was more prominent.
The scythe held by Samhain.
Yes, if the blade was because the blade's at the bottom of the page, like if it was more coming at more like foreshadowing of foreshortening of the blade, so it's like really in your face. I think it would have made it more of a threat and made it more interesting. But yeah, the cover's okay. The Scarlet Witch aspect of it is nice, but the rest of it, All right, so let's get to the big splash page.
Woo! So we are in where is this? Leonia, New Jersey, and we see.
Yeah, now here's right away. I have a problem with this.
Okay.
Scarlet Witch in Vision could live anywhere in the world. They picked New Jersey. Really?
Okay. I know New Jersey has a bad reputation, but I've never been there.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, you're Canadian. I'm trying to think what the Canadian equivalent would be. I don't know. Moose Jaw?
No, probably Hamilton.
Oh, Hamilton.
Yeah, Hamilton, I'm going to guess.
All right. Yeah, it just seems weird that they'd pick up. Yeah, they bought a house in New Jersey. So, all right. They're going to live up. Because I guess they retired from the Avengers or they left the Avengers world behind.
Right.
Apparently.
Yeah, so they're walking along in, disguise. You could never guess it was them. The Vision has a jacket and jeans on, but his android head is sticking out.
And he still has the giant yellow thing at the cape sticking out.
You're right.
And then Scarlet Witch. Yeah, describe Scarlet Witch.
Well, she's wearing basically like a version of her costume. She has like warm clothing on, but it's still like pinkish purple. And then she has a red cape and she has her wimple.
Yeah. Like you might want to leave the big pointed headdress at home.
Right.
Blend in.
Oh, this is good. And so, and so they're walking across the street and there's some kids dressed up for Halloween across the street in the foreground. There's a girl dressed up as a clown, a little boy dressed up as Spidey. And then there's someone dressed up as a witch, and then it looks like the mother. She doesn't really have a costume on.
Yeah, she's just a mom.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, they're walking along, hanging out, and then it looks like, are they getting surrounded by these kids? Nope, the kids just are just participating in Halloween. So this is weird.
These are different kids. We should mention these are
yes, you're right. These are different kids. These kids have. One of them is dressed up as a jack-o'-lantern, another one's a ghost, and another one looks like is a goblin or something.
Yeah. And
they walk up to the Vision, Scarlet Witch, and they say trick or treat. And then this is so weird because the Vision's like, it appears I have no choice but to treat these apparitions, but it also appears that I have no treats. Thus, I fear that my offering shall have to be to trick.
Yeah. We should mention all Vision's dialogue. The balloons are more squared off and they're yellow. They're
Right.
colored yellow to let you know he's a robot.
Right.
And yeah, he puts his hand in his coat pocket like he's getting something out for him, and then he shows his hands empty. He's like, "I have no treats."
Right.
So it's
Right.
all
Right.
right, Vision. So how does he trick him, Michael? He gives him a
He,
trick instead.
yeah, he puts his hand right through their bag because, as we said earlier, he can phase through solid objects, right? So that's what he does.
And these kids, like in the one panel, they look like they're 6, 7, 8 years old, and then the next panel, they're like almost as tall as the Vision. They're like
Right.
teenagers.
It's very strange.
And then
Yes.
later in the book, they're clearly teenagers. So
Right.
I don't know. It's a little weird. But
And then then there's another awkward exchange where then Scarlet Witch is like, "Darling, for a synthezoid, you have a remarkably subtle sense of humor." And then Vision says, "I believe someone once said that even an android can laugh, Wanda." And then she says, who said that when? I did, my wife, just now. What? Okay.
Bill Mantlo
Yeah,
doing
there
Bill
you go.
Mantlo things.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
So the kids are all excited, and now again they look like they're 7 or 8 years old in this panel. But the kids are all excited because they saw some real live Avengers. They think that's them. That's them. It's true. A Scarlet Witch and Vision. They're here
yep, they're pumped.
in New Jersey.
Yes, yes. And and then so oh yeah, and they also point out these are the first superheroes they've ever seen because they're in New Jersey, blah blah blah. So then Vision and Scarlet Witch walk back into their house, and it's like this older style house. And the first thing that they do is they go in and they realize someone is of course broken into their house. But it's not a big deal because it's Jarvis, right? The event.
I don't like this panel. Like we see them, they hear someone behind a door. They're confused who it is. They think it may be a threat or something. So then the third panel on the bottom, the vertical panel, they show Vision and Scarlet Witch opening the door at the top of the panel, and then it's like seen from overhead. So we get an overhead view of Jarvis.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that could have been done way better, like to build the drama, of like
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
because we don't even get to see Jarvis's face the first time he's in the panel. Just see him from above.
Good point. Yep. As we said, this is Rick Leonardi, one of his first things, so he's still learning, right?
Yep.
And so anyway, so Jarvis has a book for them as a gift.
Yeah, he says Captain America found it, and he thought they might be and Scarlet Witch might
Right.
be interested in it because it seems like a magical book.
Right, right. And then they have sort of a not a flashback, but sort of a flashback of Thor, Iron Man, and Cap. In the Quinjet, kind of just to show that the Vision and Scarlet Witch used to be in the Avengers, right?
Yes.
And then so now they're just sitting.
Yeah, let me just say this about the flashbacks because we get a couple of them in this issue, but I think the flashbacks work because remember this is issue 1 of a limited series,
Right.
so you could be having a lot of new readers coming in who don't know Vision, Scarlet Witch, so you have to provide some background and exposition.
Mhm.
And I think the two big flashback scenes we get here because they're like large panels with lots of things going on in them, like memories appearing in the panel. Like in this one, we have Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America. That Iron Man looks rough too, by the way.
Right.
But I think that's a good way of doing this kind of stuff. But if you go back to the previous page, if you want to see bad exposition, it's in when you do it in dialogue. Because
Right.
here's a quote from Scarlet Witch. But we're not Avengers anymore. The chapter in our lives is over. We're on our own now. That's fine. But we used our accrued Avengers salary to purchase this house. Now we should learn to live in it as normal human beings. Like the line about we used our accrued Avengers salary to purchase this house. She would not be saying that to someone who already knows what they did.
Right.
So that's bad exposition. But the way they do it in the flashbacks is actually okay. It's
not
good.
bad. Yeah, it's fine. Yep. It's
like
kind
I said, you got to acquaint these readers with these characters. So
right. And it's cool because it's a flashback, but they're technically in the panel with them, and the perspective is correct. It almost looks like they're running on top of the fireplace. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, Captain America. Yeah, it does.
Right.
Yeah, you mentioned the inking of those two fellas. It really becomes apparent in these couple panels. Like it's a weird style of inking.
Right, like the texture on Captain America's like chainmail, and then Thor, all that shadow. That's something Akin and Garvey totally did on Rom, especially.
Very thin vertical lines of shadow on Thor's legs, and it's strange, almost like the teeth of a comb.
Yeah.
And then on the next page, when Vision's lounging in front of the fireplace, like the shadowing on the walls, it's weird. It's kind of like dots, and
Right.
It's
Yes.
interesting, but I don't know if it's good.
Yeah, I mean, if you read that book, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, I think they would have said that this was considered over inking, but I mean, it just depends. I mean, I don't mind it, you know?
Yeah.
So then Vision.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
go
sorry, I
ahead.
got to interrupt again. But look at the vision and the panel beneath where he's standing from the fireplace. Like, see his right arm there,
Yeah, yeah,
and see all that shadowing and
yeah.
it almost looks like Robert Crumb. Or
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah.
yeah. All right. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so then Vision asks about the book. He's like, what manner of book is it that Captain America made a present of to you, Wanda? The script is strange. It's a spell book written in druidic runes.
Mm.
So she's trying to figure out what it says, but then she's like, but I could think of things I'd rather do on our first night in our new home. Come to
Yeah.
me, my love. The druid tome is set aside. They embrace, they kiss. But then in the background, so, this is again some unsubtle writing. It's cool because we see the pages of the book flip. It would have been nice to leave that to something that the reader could notice on their own. But of course, the narration by Bill Mantlo, and neither husband nor wife noticed that, touched by the heat of the hearth, its pages seemed to turn by themselves. And
And
then go
look
ahead.
at the inking when Vision's kissing Scarlet Witch, like the background, all the cross thatching. And
Oh yeah, that's a little bit overdone because it looks like actual, like, I don't, what is that, like, what's that called, insulation or something? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
or like the smoke got out of hand from the fireplace or something. I
right,
don't know. But yeah, that's clearly them doing that, not Leonardi, right? Putting it on the
right.
cross thatching. So
See, this is weird because then we have an unnecessary little caption that says later, but you didn't need to have that in there. It could have just been literally a moment later. But anyway,
well, I
so,
think it's to imply the fact that they've been kissing for a very long
oh,
time.
okay. Because then that leads us to my favorite part of the book. So
Yeah.
Vision says we are forgetting Jarvis's presence and the unpacking still to be done. And Jarvis did say something about supper. Sigh. I suppose we can postpone our lovemaking until later tonight.
Bill
Oh,
Mantlo. Yeah,
yep,
getting right in there for the kids.
yep.
Yeah. Postpone our lovemaking. Yeah.
That's what they all say. Anyway, okay, so then we have another flashback to the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, the X-Men, right? We see Cap again and Hawkeye,
And we can
Agnetha.
see that, yeah, Agatha Harkness is there at the
I,
bottom there.
yeah, and
I don't know when she was added into Scarlet Witch's background, but
backstory. I think she
yeah,
was introduced by Kirby and Lee, but not till like late, like near FF 100. So it would have been like several years down the road.
okay.
So then, of course, oh, look at this. Strange. I thought I laid this book down closed. So she notices that the pages have been turned, right?
Yeah, and who does it see? It shows Saween or whatever his name is. Saween.
Right, right. So
And his
then,
and his scythe. Yeah.
right, right. So then we see the Vision by himself upstairs, and he's again pondering. He's having another flashback, and again, the color is weird here, right? Like, I don't, like, they're trying to make the colors kind of like faded to show it's a flashback, but it just looks wrong. Like they're just colored wrong, right? Like, why is the Vision? Why is Scarlet Witch's face blue?
Yeah, instead of muting the colors, they just like did the wrong colors.
Right, right, right. So it's
We
all
should say the Vision when he went upstairs. He said he'd go upstairs to get things in order, I guess, for their lovemaking later.
all right, right.
get get all the harnesses and straps ready for the lovemaking.
Yeah,
He phases right through his clothes, so now he's in his Vision outfit, his
right,
true
right,
costume,
right.
and he's standing upstairs in his true costume, flashing back. But then we see the
Yeah,
kid. Oh, look at Ultron there. He kind of looks like a pumpkin. I didn't even realize that was Ultron. Do you see that down there?
yeah, you're right. No, not a very good Ultron. Yeah, that's
No,
weird.
not a good Ultron at all.
No.
So then we get to the kids outside. The Goblin, the Ghost, and the Pumpkin, and the Jack o' Lantern guy. And they say, "Hey, let's go look at the Vision Scarlet Witch again. Let's go knock on their door. It is Halloween after all."
Yes. And then we cut inside and we see the book is kind of, you know, sending out this energy or whatever. And this energy ball leaves the window of the Scarlet Witch's room and travels outside. And apparently it possesses these kids, right?
Yeah, look at that little energy ball. It's like It kind of reminds me of how Art Adams used to draw some stuff.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Like this, the energy is like squared, blocked off
Right.
things of energy. I don't
Yeah,
know.
totally, totally. And so, yeah, it goes out and possesses these kids. And it's like when it finds them, it takes them and makes them its own.
Yeah, so now they're like bigger and gangly and evil looking.
Right.
Kids.
So then the doorbell rings and the Scarlet Witch hears it, but Vision is downstairs with Jarvis. Jarvis opens up the door, and then again, this is totally an Art Adams thing. But again, Art Adams came later, so this was first. But Jarvis gets thrown back by something, and then we see it's actually the three kids that have been transformed, right? They've pushed their way through.
Yeah, and if you showed me that panel, I could recognize some Rick Leonardi of Jarvis being thrown away. Especially if you look at how he draws characters' legs when they're wearing pants in this issue. It's like, oh, that's Rick Leonardi. Because I don't know, he just has a weird way of drawing legs and pants.
Right.
Like, it looks cool.
True.
But it's a distinctive way of doing it. And
right,
so,
right.
But otherwise, like if you're just looking at this art, I don't know if you'd say, oh, yeah, this is Rick Leonardi.
No, you're right. It doesn't look like him, no.
But there's just a few glimpses of it.
Right.
Of his potential to come.
Yeah, so then they're like, trick or treat, and human scum, prepare to perish on this night of power. Surrender to us, your bride. And now this is where they get kind of funky with the dialogue. He's like, we are children no longer, but servants of he who would live. Quotations. He who would live. We don't know who he's talking about yet. So then
Spoiler alert, it's Samhain.
Yeah, right. So this guy, now wait a minute, is he shooting something at Vision? Yeah, he is. No, or is Vision shooting him?
Wait, where are you? Which panel are you at here?
Bottom middle.
Bottom middle, that guy is shooting. It's weird. It looks like it's coming out of the Goblin's wang.
Yeah,
but it's
right,
actually
right.
the Jack-o'-lantern shoots him with his eye beams off panel, and Vision turns real dense, so the beams don't hurt him.
Right.
And he's still trying to shoot him in the third panel as well, but he's all dense vision now, so nothing hurts him. So.
Right. Okay, I see. So then now Vision's pissed because they're threatening his wife. And then, so obviously these guys are empowered now. So now the ghost guy, he attacks him. And huh?
Yeah, he phases through the Vision. Like one of the Vision's deals is he will phase through people, and it like kind of short circuits their nervous system and makes them pass out and stuff. And now he's finding out what that feels like because the ghost is doing it to him.
Right. And he's like, Yarg!
Yeah, they show this is almost like George Perez-esque.
Right.
They have like a vertical panel with all sorts of background, like static, black and white snow static on a TV. Right. And then we get like 4 vertical heads of Vision, and his expression changes in each face.
Right.
And then he screams in the last one. He's in such pain.
You're right. Totally something Perez would do. You're right. And then all of a sudden, now we see him, right? Samhain.
Yeah.
And now see, this is and it's like, this is again some bad dialogue. What? I'm not alone in the library? A figure is materializing out of the Druid tome. Who? Bad.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
You get what you get with Mantlo. It is what it is.
Yeah. And then he's like, can it be you do not know me, witch? Let my scythe slice through the veils of time and space. Let reality rupture, that you may know me as mankind has known me down through the eons. So then she falls through kind of like a dimension or like reality, whatever. But it looks like a big, what is it called? What is that called?
What is that called?
Yeah, I don't know why I can't remember.
An hourglass.
Yeah, an hourglass. There you go. So apparently this guy's been around for a long time.
Yeah, I was thinking like 2 sand cups. No, it's an hourglass.
Yeah. So this guy's been around. This guy Samhain has been around since prehistory. They show him with cavemen. They show him the Egyptians worshiping him. They show Roman Britain, right? Showing Druid priests. They worship me, begged me for salvation. I rewarded them with death. They show Notre Dame.
Oh wow! Look at you.
Yeah, probably wrong. And then he's like, "I am Samhain, eternal embodiment of All Hallows Eve."
Yeah.
And yeah.
So I
And then
guess on All Hallows Eve, it's the time when the veil between what the spirit world and the real world is the thinnest.
right, got that right. And then they show a flashback of oh yeah, so then Scarlet Witch is like, Samhain was a druid deity. Agatha Harkness taught me that the 20th century has no use for so ancient and evil. Oh, but it does. Someone with a soul as black as night sought the druid tome and freed it from its stony prison within the walls of Greymore Castle. See Captain America number 256.
Well, I think I have that issue of Greymore Castle, actually.
Really? Oh, you know what? I think I did too. Isn't that by Roger Stern and John Byrne?
I don't know if it's Byrne who does the art in it, but that was like around the run when Byrne was drawing it, though.
Okay.
But I think that issue, I don't know if Byrne was doing that one.
I shall Google it while we talk.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it's not. It's written by Bill Mantlo and drawn by Gene Colan.
Yeah, because I remember the art wasn't like because do you remember episode 1 of Flea Market Fantasy? We did a Captain America from right around that time, and it was John Byrne.
You know what?
It's
the issue right after they finished. That's why.
Oh, see, there you go. But about that. But anyway, so that explains how Captain America got the book, and then he gives it to Scarlet Witch, and now Samhain is saying that he's trapped within the book, and he needs her powers to free him.
Right. And so yeah, so they're now fighting, shooting each other. He is attacking her with locusts and lizards.
Yeah.
She's using her hex power to fight back. And like meanwhile, Jarvis has been knocked over as well. Oh yeah, because he was knocked over earlier. He's trying to get back up. And yeah, it's getting kind of cramped in here because we see Jarvis in the background. We see Vision fighting these guys in this really skinny panel. The guy's still shooting him from like 3 pages earlier.
Yeah, because he's trying to shoot him, but Vision is now a ghost. Like he's intangible with the ghost, so he's not hurting him when Jack-o'-lantern's shooting him. But he's still trying, just in case.
Right.
And,
right.
But the Vision and the Ghost are still locked in combat, and their Vision is still in lots of pain, I guess. So.
Right. So then Vision's like, okay, well, he's like, he grabs the Jack-o'-lantern kid. He's like, you cannot stop the Ghost, friend Jarvis. I must try. Once I fight free of his companions, thermal I-beams sear the pumpkin shell head of the Jack-o'-lantern.
And he just cuts the kid's head off with his
right. So now the kid is sort of been free, but he's also, I think he's hurt. Because then Vision's like, curse whoever it is who had forced me to choose between hurting this child and saving my wife. So now the kid's kind of knocked out. And then now the only one left is the Goblin. He's like, stand aside, Goblin, lest you suffer a like fate. And then he's like, to obey you, Vision, would be to disobey he who would live. That I cannot do.
Yeah. So then we see Jarvis. Jarvis has a silver serving tray, and he says, "You will not pass by me, apparition," because the Ghost is trying to get the Scarlet Witch.
Right.
Jarvis, I know you're not an official Avenger, but I mean, you're not an idiot either. I mean, you know this guy's a ghost, right? So.
Right.
You should. How are you going to stop him, Jarvis? Yeah.
So he's very ineffective. So then the Goblin's like, your spouse defies he who would live, android. The Ghost goes to change her defiance into submission. So then now Jarvis, one last time, he's going to use that serving platter or whatever and whip it at the Goblin guy. And he ends up.
I'm no Captain America, but perhaps a small distraction being some service. Right. And he flings it like Captain America. Paching.
Right, just at the same moment that the Vision's hand is passing through the Goblin guy.
Well, he hits the Goblin in the back of the head, and that forces him forward into the Vision's hand.
There you go.
It's teamwork.
Right.
And Vision phases through him and knocks him out.
Right. And then so Vision blasts through the wall. So now he comes in.
Vision you just bought this house, Vision.
Yeah, I know, eh?
And you're shooting your little laser beams out of your eyes to destroy the door. Just open the door.
Open the door. Now. Yeah.
So
then he goes in and Samhain is standing there and the Ghost is there. And then he goes in, attacks her, once a child, it is now a ghost beloved. Is that him talking? Yeah. Able to become an intangible as I. It has already caused me greater pain than I have ever known. Still, I could bear it again to keep you from harm. So he attacks the ghost, and they're kind of like wrestling in the air.
Yeah,
And
they like float up through the ceiling and out into
right,
the night sky.
right, it's pretty cool. Yeah, they float up into the sky, and then then Scarlet Witch takes the book, right? And she throws it.
Well,
Yes.
she doesn't take the book. She's trying to figure out how to defeat Samhain because she casts a hex spell and he just puts his scythe through it and gets rid of her spell. So she says, "What can I do? What can I do?" So she starts thinking, and she's like, "Oh, it's the book! It's the book!" So she uses her magic powers to throw the book into the fireplace
Right.
because he was bound to the book. He was like standing over the book.
Mhm.
So when the book burns, Samhain burns as well.
Right.
Dun,
So yeah,
dun.
she outsmarted him.
And then the ghost disappears and turns into the teenage girl, and Vision catches her and takes her down, and all the other kids regain their senses.
Right. It's pretty
But I
cool.
guess they don't remember anything that happened though.
Right.
And then Vision goes in to see the Scarlet Witch, all like sad, and this is very dramatic, Michael.
Yeah, well, she's all upset and her eyes are glowing, and then he hugs her.
Yeah, but let's read some of this dialogue. But
Okay,
then,
sure. Okay. But
because
then,
it starts out by like saying robots don't have feelings or whatever,
oh, right, right.
it's all narration. But then they have never seen him race to his wife's side after a battle. Never seen him kneel tenderly alongside her. They have never heard the catch in his throat. As gazing into her eyes, he realizes what the battle has done to her. And they have never witnessed the outpouring of emotion as the two lovers embrace amidst the ruins. And
Right.
then between the panels, not even in a narration box, in the gutter between the panels, it says, "Those who have seen such things speak the truth when they say, even a synthezoid can cry."
You know what the weird thing is the original book was even an android can cry. So I don't know why they keep driving home the synthezoid, but whatever.
Trademark. Yeah.
So yeah, now the
Have
kids
you
are.
ever seen someone do that though? Put it in the gutter between the panels?
Yeah, I've definitely seen that. Yep. It's very awkward, but I've definitely seen it.
Yeah.
It's probably an afterthought, right?
Yeah, seems like it.
So yeah, so now the kids are gone, and their memories are erased, and then there's someone at the door. Ding dong, merciful heaven, not again! Stay behind me, Jarvis. You two Vision. This time the Scarlet Witch will answer the door with all her magic at the ready. She opens up the door, and who's there? What? Robert Frank? Why, Wanda? That look in your eyes, almost as if you're ready to kill whoever happened to step through your door. Is that any way to greet your father?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yep,
Yeah.
next month, Faith of Our Fathers, featuring a menace from the golden age of comics.
That menace is the wizard. Yep.
That's right.
Robert Frank. All right, Michael, here's my big problem with this issue. Okay, it's issue 1 of a 4-issue limited series. None of what happens here in this issue has anything to do with the subsequent 3 issues.
Come on.
Other than Robert Frank showing up at the door.
Really?
So, like Samhain doesn't show up again. You know what I mean? Like that book
Really?
doesn't come back. Nothing. None of that comes back into play.
Ugh,
So
bad.
it's pretty weird. Like you would structure a 4-issue limited series with something that has no consequence to the other issue. It's odd.
Well, yeah, and honestly, my first takeaway with this is usually if we read a miniseries for Flea Market Fantasy, I'll always finish it or I'll read the issues leading up to it, but I am very borderline about whether or not I want to finish this.
Like you could have just had them go back to the house, and instead of the kids at the door, the dad's at the door on page 2 or whatever, just start the series. Because like none of this, I guess what they wanted to do was provide background for the characters to show them using their powers, to show who they are. I get that, but I would still like to see that somehow play into the rest of the series though, Like you would think Samhain would show back up, but I don't think he does. So
yeah.
Very odd. I don't know. So yeah, it's Mantlo. I don't know. We've talked about him many times on here. He's just average,
Yeah, I hate to say it, but he is. I mean, sometimes he's good, but most of the time he's very average.
Yeah. I mean, I liked how he did like I said, the background flashbacks, the Steve flashbacks. I like that.
Mhm.
Um, I like the basic premise of this book. I guess if it's like just a normal issue in a normal series, but again, for issue one of a 4-issue limited series, I don't know if this works. But
I
all
think
right.
you're right. Yeah, it's like I don't really want to keep reading. I don't know, so it's not really a
Like if this was
success.
issue 312 of Avengers or something, oh, all right, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
But issue one of I don't know, doesn't make a lot of sense. But anyway, all right, that's Mantlo, and he wrote all the issues of this, all 4.
I figured. Yeah,
Um, so Rick Leonardi, you want to just talk about him?
yeah. I mean, I love Rick Leonardi. I think I was first exposed to him on Amazing Spider-Man, but then also Daredevil. He did a few issues of Daredevil within Nocenti.
Yep.
It was a Wolverine two-parter, and I just ate that stuff up.
Who was the name of that guy?
Bushwhacker.
Bushwhacker. Yeah, his hand could
Such
turn
a
into a gun.
Oh,
Like,
so cool.
yeah, it was awesome.
But it was like a mechanical housing inside his skin. So
Yeah,
it would look like a normal hand and then it would change inside his skin. It was like so cool.
yeah, Bushwhacker. Yeah, he did about 4 or 5 issues of Daredevil.
Awesome.
Not in a row, but just
No.
that's the thing about his career. We'll get into, but he didn't really have a lot of extended runs on anything. But he would do like 4 issues here, 5 issues there, and they would always be separated. Sometimes,
Right.
a lot of times, he'd do back to back, like that Wolverine Bushwhacker
Right.
one. I think he did back to back, but rarely would he do extended sequences of issues. It was always
That's
like 1
true.
here, 2 there.
You know, he also did a bunch of issues of X-Men, but the one series he did do
Well,
was Spider-Man. Spider-Man 2099.
yes, Spider-Man 2099 was the exception. We'll get into that.
Right.
All right,
Okay.
so Rick Leonardi, he was born 1957 in Philadelphia, so right away that means I hate him because he's born in Philadelphia.
Okay.
He graduated from Dartmouth College in 1979, and he started working for Marvel the next year. So look at that, right out of college, boom, into
Wow.
Marvel. His first published artwork was in Thor issue 303, 1981.
Cool.
So he was 24, and he broke in. And then he collaborated with our buddy Bill Mantlo on all 4 issues of this Vision and Scarlet Witch series in 1982. And then the next year, they combined to do all 4 issues of the Cloak and Dagger limited series
Ooh, nice.
in 1983. So I've never read that. Have you read that?
Nope, I have not.
In 1984, he was credited with co-creating the Black Spidey costume along with Mike Zeck
Ah, that's right. That's right.
for Secret Wars 2, and they brought it out.
Great
Then in 1985-86, he did 5 issues of Cloak and Dagger Volume 2.
Mm,
And then Cloak and Dagger had a Volume 3 in 1990-91, and he did 5 issues there as well.
nice.
He did 7 fill-in issues for the X-Men from 1986 to 1989, and this is where I knew of him.
Right.
Because his first issue he did was 201, and that's a famous issue. Do you remember what happens in 201?
That's where Cyclops fights Storm for
Yep,
the
Storm
leadership
becomes
of
leader.
the X-Men. Right.
Yep. And then he also did 212, which the first issue of X-Men I purchased, like live, ongoing, was 207. And then I went back and got the other ones. But so that was right when I started reading X-Men 212. That was Fall of the Mutants. That's the one with the great Barry Windsor Smith Wolverine cover.
Oh boy. Yep.
But Leonardi did that interior art there. So he did 7 total X-Men issues from over those 3-year spans. He also did some New Mutants, some other stuff. I always loved how he drew Colossus.
Oh yeah, me too.
And in
me too.
1989, he did Marvel Comics Presents issues 10 through 17, which was a Colossus ongoing story.
Right. I never read that. Yeah.
But yeah, I had all those. And but he just has a knack for drawing Colossus because his art style here, this isn't a good representation. He's still very young.
Yeah.
But by the time by 89, he's at his full peak, you know, and like his style's kind of weird. It's like not cartoony, but not super realistic either. It's kind of like a nice blend of the two.
Right. Right.
And his faces would kind of be squarish a little bit, but I don't know. But he drew Colossus great because he had the big muscles and just very, I don't know,
Yep.
like balloon type muscles. But it was really good. All right. Then Spider-Man 2099 in 1992-94, he co-created that with Peter David.
Nice.
So he drew 21 of the first 25 issues.
That's great.
So that's his longest run on anything. 21 and 25 for Spider-Man 2099. But otherwise, at Marvel, he did some Amazing Spider-Man. He did some Daredevil. He did a bunch of stuff, but no real extended runs. He also did a lot of stuff at DC, Michael. Do you know what his most famous work at DC would be? Because he did one book. He did 13 issues of one book.
I'm going to guess because I'm looking at the list. Is it Nightwing?
That is correct. Nightwing. From 2001 to 2003. 13 issues.
You know, I know he also did a couple issues of Batman Beyond in 2019 because I bought those just because he did them. Because
I think he did 4.
Yeah, 4 issues. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He did 6.
Yeah.
He did 6. That's what I meant to say. But yeah, so there you go. Rick Leonardi. What other Rick Leonardi memories do you have?
Well, I mean, all the ones you mentioned, and I always just thought he would be a perfect artist for Spider-Man. I mean, it's obviously good that he did 2099, but I wish he would have had a long run on, the Peter Parker Spider-Man.
Yeah, I loved all the stuff he did with the X-Men. He also did like one issue during the Inferno run.
Right.
Colossus is featured prominently on that cover.
Mm-hmm.
I think he also co-created the idea of Genosha, right, with Claremont, or
possibly,
at least he drew that issue. I know.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he had any play in the creation of it, but he drew the first Genosha issue.
Yeah, he's always been one of my favorites. Absolutely. And I gotta say, if you ever get a chance to read his Peter Parker the Spectacular Spider-Man 52. Wow, my God, that's a great issue. 52 and 71 are both excellent. You should check those out because I'm not sure. It was just the inking, it made it pop. It's really good.
Yeah, the inking here we mentioned. What were those guys' names again?
Ian Akin and Brian Garvey.
Akin and Garvey. Yeah, it's almost like experimental. They're trying out stuff. It seems like
right. It's not
yeah. They really put a lot of work. I'm interested to see like how early this was in their career and how they evolved, but I have no real knowledge of them at all. But yeah, I wasn't crazy about the inking here.
Right.
And the art is very young Leonardi, so it's a young artist finding his way.
Right.
But all right, hey, what else about the art? Anything stand out to you?
I don't know. I just, like I said, I would also I'm looking at a digital scan. I'd like to see the original to see what the colors are like because I don't think the colors really work in this issue either. So it just feels like everything's just a little bit off in this issue.
Who was the colorist? Take a shot at him. Who was it?
It is Bob Sharon.
Don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who that is either.
Who's the letter?
Joe Rosen.
Oh, Joe Rosen.
The editor is Mark Grunwald. Editor-in-chief is Jim Shooter.
That's right, Jimmy Shooter. All right, so Vision Scarlet Witch #1, 1982. What do you give it, Michael?
Ooh, I wanted to like it more. I think I can only give it a 6 out of 10.
I'd probably give it a 5.
Oh yeah? Huh.
Middle of the road.
So that's funny because I gave it a 6, and I'm not going to continue reading. You gave it a 5, but you did continue reading.
No, I didn't. I just.
I thought you did. Okay,
I just read the summaries of the other issues.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, because I wanted to see if Samhain came back, and he never did. I was like, oh, well, that's weird.
No more Samhain.
Yeah. I guess the Vision almost loses his arm in the next issue. Like his arm gets fucked up somehow, and he has to go to the Inhumans to rebuild it. Use their advanced technologies, and then Magneto shows up and all that kind of stuff. Hey, do you remember who Quicksilver who put a baby in? Do you remember
that? No, I don't remember.
Crystal from the Inhumans.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Of course. Yeah. How could I forget?
They had a baby girl, Luna. I totally forgot all about that until I was reading this. Yeah. There you go.
Yep.
All right, Mike. So did you watch WandaVision?
Yes, I did. I loved it.
Now, if I'm correct, they're only releasing a couple episodes at a time?
Well, they released 1 and 2, and then after that, it's going to be every week.
Okay. See, I think that's the way to do it.
I agree.
I don't like when they put it all out at once because people, I know, I love the binger, but then everyone gets excited for 2 days about it. Exactly. They talk about it, and then they just forget all about it. This way, you get the excitement prolonged, So
I 100% agree. Just like Mandalorian, it extends. Can you imagine if they would have dropped Mandalorian in 1 day, and then Baby Yoda would have come and gone in literally 1 day, but they spread it out for like 8 weeks, right?
It always drove me nuts about the Daredevil series because it would always come out and then you have to like, hey, did you see episode 6 yet? No, I only saw the
I
first
know.
two.
I
Don't
hate
say
it.
anything. And it's like,
I've always hated that. Yeah.
Took them a while to finally figure it out. But you know who knew right away what to do? This guy right here. I was saying it for years. So they finally caught on, Michael. But WandaVision, Elizabeth Olsen, right? And, yeah, she's pretty,
hot.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
And what's the guy's name?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
No,
I don't remember either.
Paul something. Everyone else seems to know him except me.
Yeah.
Paul,
so basically, the premise is they're like in a 1950s sitcom kind of world.
Yes, I'm not going to say anything else. It's a little bit more than that, but yes, you're exactly right.
Yeah, like there's some reason they're there, and they got to figure out why, right? Like, because without having seen it, the possibilities are like she's loopy, she's losing her mind, so she created this world herself, or they're trapped there by some villain, right?
Could be. Yeah, they haven't revealed it yet, but it's very cool, and it's entertaining enough that I want to keep watching. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Michael, but I am a TV scholar.
Really?
And I'm looking at my diploma on the wall right now. But just from the trailers, I could see they're using like the Dick Van Dyke set, like the Bewitched kind of set.
Right, absolutely, yep. And I think they're going to keep going after that. So
yeah, so that's pretty cool. All right, so that's WandaVision on Disney Plus.
That's right.
Disney Plus. it is how much is that? Like, is it worth to get Disney Plus to watch?
I think so. I mean, it's like $8 or $9 a month, and I mean, you got to understand. Since I've got Disney Plus, I've watched every single episode of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Every episode of Spider-Man, the other one that came out at the same time. Now I'm watching the '90s Spider-Man. Right.
All right. Well, maybe I'll give it a whirl.
I think you should. Yeah.
By the way, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, I went back and watched an episode with the X-Men in it, and it was so bad.
It was pretty bad. Some episodes are good. That one was not great. We actually reviewed that on Here Comes the Spider-Cast.
I think they were in 2 episodes, weren't they? Because like one had the Juggernaut in it too.
Right.
And one,
yes, at least 2. And then I think there was cameos in other episodes. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just remember watching that. I watched it like maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I was like, wow, is this bad? Holy hell.
Pretty rough. Yeah, pretty rough.
Now, does Disney Plus have any like old Don Knotts movies? Do you know?
I haven't looked. I also haven't looked for Tim Conway either, so I don't know.
All right, fair enough. All right, well, maybe by next week I'll watch WandaVision. All right, Michael, it's your pick. Please, for the love of God, do not go to First Issue Special. Please, I'm begging.
That would be absurd. Instead, I'm going to go to Adventure Comics.
Oh, you've already done this like 7 times as well, right?
Adventure Comics number 467 featuring Starman! Different Starman. Yes!
Now, is this Starman the Golden Age one?
No, this is the 3rd Starman. This is Prince Gavin Starman. Come on. I never repeat.
What is wrong with you? Why are you doing this to us?
I'm a completist here, okay? Don't worry.
But there were like 10 Starmen in DC Comics. We don't need to do them all.
Yes, we do. This issue also has Plastic Man, so that should tide you over.
Oh, Plastic Man's terrible. Are we going to also be watching the Starman Jeff Bridges movie?
Maybe we will. Maybe we will.
What issue? 467?
I just sent you the link. Yep. 467.
What is this Starman? Does he also look like a transvestite go-go dancer? Or is
Not quite. You'll see.
All right. Starman. Can't wait. I'm
pumped. Anyway, so yeah, that wraps up another episode of Flea Market Fantasy, your favorite Bronze Age comic book podcast. We are available on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, and our Comic Book Syndicate. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, as well as YouTube and the Comic Book Syndicate website. So until next Tuesday, disperse!